WWE finally announces the future of the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships, and does it pave the way for a return to the company for Sasha Banks and Naomi? Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of WWE. And finally, after they were vacated back in, when was it, May? We finally have an update as to what is actually happening when it comes to the Women's Tag Team Championships. And it could possibly also mean the return of both Sasha Banks and Naomi to the company. Now, WWE finally has a plan and has finally announced their plan. When it comes to the Women's Tag Team Championships, their plan to crown new Women's Tag Team Champions. During Friday night's episode of SmackDown, Michael Cole announced a tournament for the vacant titles will begin this coming Monday night on Raw. No matches, teams, or brackets were revealed as of right now. The Women's Tag Team Championships, of course, have been vacant since the former champions Sasha Banks and Naomi walked out of WWE during an episode of Raw on May 16, leaving their title belts on the desk of then Executive Vice President of Talent Relations John Laurinaitis. During the following episode, of course, of SmackDown, after that incident happened, Cole confirmed that Banks and Naomi had walked out of the company, adding that they had both let the fans down. WWE then stripped them of the titles and suspended both of them indefinitely. Since then, the leadership of WWE has changed dramatically. Within the past month, of course, Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon announced his retirement and resigned from all positions he held in the company, including the role as head of creative, as investigations into hush money payments made to former female employees to silence misconduct allegations surfaced. Paul Triple H Levesque has since taken over McMahon's duties, overseeing WWE's creative direction, and this influence is already very apparent. Dakota Kai returned to WWE, Io Sky has been called up from NXT, both making their main roster debuts at SummerSlam last Saturday night. Of course, on SmackDown last night, we also saw the return of former NXT champion Karrion Kross alongside Scarlett, making their returns to the company in the main event segment. There has been a lot of speculation, and this is why I bring up the Women's Tag Team Championship, why I bring up a possible return of Sasha Banks and Naomi to the company. There has been speculation that Banks and Naomi may return to WWE under this new creative regime led by Levesque. Some fans interpreted a tweet from WWE's official Twitter account as a possible tease of their return ahead of Monday night's edition of Raw, talking about now that SummerSlam's in the rear view, who is going to make the biggest statement, referring to two moves that Sasha Banks and Naomi, of course, are well known for, the rear view in Naomi and the Banks statement by Sasha Banks. To date, and as of this recording, neither woman has commented publicly on the reasons behind their walkout. Banks and Naomi captured the Women's Tag Team Championships on Night 2 of WrestleMania 38. They defeated the defending champions Queen Zelina Vega and Carmella in a fatal four-way match, which also included the teams of Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, and Shayna Baszler and Natalya. Now, Banks was one half of the inaugural champions and of the holders of the championship. She and Bayley won a six-way Elimination Chamber match in February 2019 to be the first to raise the championships. Banks and Bayley lost the titles to the Iconics at WrestleMania 35, but would also hold the championships for a few months in 2020. Now, when it comes to Sasha Banks, there has been maybe a little bit of a hint about a possible WWE return as these rumors of Sasha Banks' return to WWE gain some more momentum. Now, earlier this week, Banks was advertised under her real name of Mercedes Venado to participate in the Team Donald vs. Team Ramsey celebrity flag football game to be held Friday, August 5th, which of course was yesterday. However, the Los Angeles Rams released an updated roster for the game on Thursday, and Banks' name was no longer listed to be part of either team, and I can confirm, obviously, she did not participate in that game. And it led a lot of people talking, had she been pulled to appear on SmackDown? Now, we know that was not the case. Sasha Banks did not return last night on SmackDown, but it does lead into the possibility that she is now once again under contract to WWE, and they have pulled her from that event. Several wrestling news outlets reported prior to Raw on Monday that Banks and Naomi, who staged a walkout from the company, have reached an agreement to return to the WWE. The chatter surrounding their return first started, of course, when Triple H replaced Bruce Pritchard as the head of talent relations, and then with Triple H replacing Vince McMahon in the head of creative department. Last week, Dave Meltzer noted that WWE was trying to reconcile with the former Women's Tag Team Champions, and followed it up with a report this week stating that people backstage in WWE are more or less convinced of their return. So there's a lot, obviously, to go on there, and there's a lot to process there. Do I think they're actually going to have a tournament? I wouldn't be shocked, and this is kind of my my feeling on it now. Is there a still... They're saying that the Women's Tag Team Championship tournament is set to begin this coming Monday on Raw. How many tag teams still are there? I know that Alexa Bliss and Asuka teamed up this past Monday on Raw. I also know that now you've got Dakota Kai and Io Sky could possibly be a tag team. I don't know if we're actually going to see a tournament. I would not be shocked if the creative here, if the plan actually legitimately is the situation where you could see something like tonight the Women's Tag Team Championships are going to be decided, or the tournament's going to begin, and then next thing you know, next thing you see, we don't have the Women's Tag Team Championships actually be decided or anything like that. What we actually see instead is a situation where Sasha Banks and Naomi come out and basically say, no, we're not having a tournament. We're not having a tournament. We're not doing anything because we're back. And why should we have to compete in a tournament for championships we never lost? You tried to strip us of these championships. Maybe it leads to Triple H coming out. I don't know. Maybe Triple H comes out and says, you know, okay, you're back. Keep the championships, and then they go into a feud with Alexa Bliss and Asuka. Whether they go into a feud with Dakota Kai and Io Sky, I think they're kind of tied up at the moment. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's the direction that they go in, to be honest with you. And look, the more we talk about it, the more we discuss the regime change in WWE, and the returns and changes that we've seen already are pretty dramatic when you think about it. As mentioned, Dakota Kai coming back, Io Sky getting called up to the main roster, and she also reportedly had one foot outside of WWE, was considering a return to Japan, even though she debunks that report. Then you have Karrion Kross return Friday night on SmackDown. Triple H clearly is in the mode of reconciling with lots of people. Triple H clearly is in the mode of bringing people back that were aggrieved or weren't treated properly or well by WWE, Vince McMahon and the previous regime. And Sasha Banks and Naomi fall directly into that category. So I wouldn't be surprised if actually, again, there is no tournament Monday Night on Raw. And instead they shoot an angle where Sasha Banks and Naomi come out with their championships and say, how can you have a tournament when the champions are standing right here? And we see something like that instead. So that's kind of my prediction. I think that Sasha Banks and Naomi will be returning. And of course, if they are returning, that would imply they've signed new contracts with WWE as well. You have to remember that's a key element in this story too, is that Sasha Banks and Naomi, upon the time in which they walked out from WWE, their contracts were set to expire in the relatively near future. Naomi was negotiating with WWE. We don't know about Sasha Banks, but both deals were set to expire in the near future. If they come back, chances are they've re-signed with WWE, and Triple H is changing WWE television once again. So it's a fascinating story nevertheless. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestle News 365, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.